Getting a deja vu? Well, we're going to JOOL again, because previous mission got burnt to the crisp in the atmosphere of JOOL, so I have decided to build another one. And we will be covering everything, including the research, the building, the launch, and finally all of the transfers and everything in between. So stick around, this is gonna be fun. Yes, look at this beautiful JOOL arrival. Yeah, today's gonna be amazing, but that's not all. I have a surprise for you. Not only will we be doing the JOOL science, but I may even try to return the probe back home. Haha, you didn't expect that. Yeah, long story short, we're gonna be doing some research, and the previous mission, although it was a half success, managed to net us a whopping 5.9 thousand of science, which we are using to research the deep space probes and all of the required tech that will help us design a much better craft this time. However, I've set my ambitions high, because this time, not only that we will be going to the JOOL, not only that we will be performing the science experiments, but also we will be taking all of the samples and returning them back to Kerbin. So yeah, this one is gonna be amazing, guys. You might want to stick around, it's gonna be awesome. The reason for now building, because last time when I was doing the recording, I was looking at all of the samples that needed to be returned, and I realized it was 6,000 and something science. So it's a boatload of science that we could use if we could return the science experiments back to Kerbin. So this probe that I'm building, it's going to be tiny, and it needs to be tiny because this one needs to return from the JOOL's almost atmosphere all the way back to Kerbin, survive the re-entry from an interplanetary crispy transfer, and then come back safely. So I'm going with the 0.0625 because, well, it's the smallest one, and even if I put some gigantor panels, so let me just justify my choices. You see the science experiments, you see the batteries, there's lots of batteries, there's a probe core, and there is an SAS unit. And there are two gigantor solar panels, and there is a very, very powerful dish. So the idea is that the solar panels will generate enough electricity for the craft to survive, and there are plenty of batteries that will ensure that we have plenty of, electric charge, so we can send the data home all that we can. Right. So with that being said, I realized I need something else. I need the parachutes, because this probe will be entering heat shield first into the Kerbin's atmosphere, and then it will be basically need parachutes to softly land. So I'm always building backwards, guys. That's the trick in the KSP. When you're building, you have to build backwards. So this one is what was going to re-enter to the Kerbin's atmosphere. Then this is a transfer. This is a small transfer craft that will be transferring from the JOOL back to Kerbin. And the JOOL calculation route trip planner, it's a little bit nuts. It says that you need 45,000. Well, that's not the case. For the trip there and back again, you would need a rough 18,000-ish delta V. So that amount you will need, really. But with a couple of, planetary assist and, lucky burns and some aero braking, you might get away with less. Now, the second stage that I'm currently building is the stage that should be ultimately going to JOOL, and also performing the initial kickback burn. Now, I realize one thing. Hold on. This craft, well, we don't have a heat shield, so I need two heat shields. One heat shield is to basically be able to return to Kerbin, but the second heat shield is for the atmospheric experiments around JOOL. That's something that we should not forget about, and so this is why on my second stage, I don't know if you have noticed, but on the 2.5 meter fairing, below the fairing, look, there's a big heat shield as well. I'm gonna slap also two RTGs, because if we come to the dark side of, JOOL or something, and we cannot do the science, we need a power generator. So I'm gonna use two power generators. I'm not gonna use more because they really are heavy. So there we go. We have a small 0.625 return stage to Kerbin and transfer. Then we have the initial kickback of 2.5 meter, and then we have the 3.75 meter kickback that will be pushing this from Kerbin all the way to JOOL and including some transfers. And now I'm finally building the ascent stage, the stage that will get all of those shenanigans all the way to the orbit. So that's my reasoning, and that's how I approach building in KSP and KSP2. It's always philosophy, build backwards. Right, so that being said, we have a total of 9.715 meters per second of delta V, and technically we need more. With the 2 Clydesdale boosters, those are the big meaty ones, we're at 11,000. So I'm gonna put like 2 of the nose cones, and you might be asking, but hold on, these are fuel tanks, GrunfWorks. You're right. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put the fuel lines, and I'm gonna use the fuel that has been in this bad boy. So first I put some struts, and then we're gonna put fuel lines, because the fuel lines will be feeding the fuel from those tanks all the way to the main engine. Huh, I know, genius you say. Yes I am. Just kidding. Anyway, that being said, I want to make sure that I'm putting everything on their own action groups. So I want to have toggle panels, and I want to have for the action group 1 toggle antenna for the Communitron. That's kind of important for me, and that's fine. Look, we have 11,000 meters per second. I honestly think that will be enough, because we really don't need to do a whole lot. Now, that being said, it's gonna be fun testing this out. I haven't actually tested this craft. This is the first time I'm building it, first time I'm launching. I didn't have any do-overs. The only do-overs that I might have if I have the launch shenanigans, you know, vehicle going flippity-flip and all that jazz. So in that case, well, I just might. Alright, now listening to the ignition and sequence. I'm gonna shut up now and let's enjoy the launch. Boosters! Yeah, well, I gotta say boosters because we're using Clydesdales. Yeah, look at it, how well it goes. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it glorious? And look, we are doing some tilting, and up it goes. It kind of reminds me almost of, you know, SLS. It's like Saturn V with a touch of SLS. I don't know. It's just, I just get these vibes. And I'm also reducing the throttle. I was reducing the throttle on the main engine all the way until the main engines did cut off. That's the way how you can get some extra delta V, because you don't need the thrust to weight of 2.6 while ascending in the orbit, to the orbit through the atmosphere. You want your thrust to weight to be regulated at around 1.6, 1.7 until you get out of the thickest parts of the atmosphere. So that's a way how you can save fuel on ascent. That's a pro tip, guys, so if you knew. Anyway, we have extended the main antenna, and we will be extending the solar panels as well as soon as we circularize. There we go, and we will be circularizing on the 3rd stage. There we go, look how beautiful it looks, and there we go, 100 by 88. I mean, it doesn't need to be exact. Gigantor's engaged, and I'm gonna disable torque on the smaller probes, because then the craft we will be avoiding the necessary wobble. Yeah. So now let's set JOOL as the target of the jour, and then let's perform the Deja Vu mission. Yeah. After all, we do want to take the atmospheric science and also gather as many science experiments from the moons of JOOL as much as we can. So it's not going to be JOOL 5, but it's going to be JOOL 2, 3, who knows? I mean, I'm not going to be performing the landings, but you know, any gravity assist and any science that I'm grab, it's basically a science grab. Yeah, that's what it is. And it's remote. Yeah, did I say that? Probably not. Anyway, now we have the apoapsis of 49, so I'm planning my JOOL intercept. This is gonna be a hefty burn. I'm expecting 2.1 thousand meters per second. So let's see, required delta V we're getting, and now I'm trying to fiddle to get this 1A and 1B to align and basically reduce the distance. Ascending nose is 1.4, and honestly this fiddlage did take me a good portion. I'm gonna say, let's say 10-15 minutes. So yeah, I mean, if you want to do things right, this takes quite a while. So however, if you're doing it right, you will eventually, you will eventually get an encounter to JOOL, regardless of how small or how ridiculous it is. However, the moment you get it, I refocus on JOOL and try to fiddle with the maneuver node until I get a periapsis the best I can. It doesn't need to be perfect. I will correct it later, but as long as I have an encounter, I know I'm roughly in the ballpark. And look at this, 970. Yeah, I was trying to get a better one, but I cannot at this moment. And I'm perfectly happy with it. 2000 delta V, that's good enough for me, so I was just fiddling, trying to see if I can get it any better. It doesn't, I don't care. We're gonna be starting the burn right about now in about 20-ish seconds. By the way, the lights are working for me. If they don't work for you, F5, F9, you know, quick save, quick load, and they will be working. I have read the latest report from the devs. This issue will be fixed in the next build. So, thankfully, that's gonna be done. Fix is implemented and verified. So yeah, devs have started posting their updates, and I cannot wait until we get the 0 to, what was it, 0 to 10 or something patch. So yeah. I was also reporting many of the bugs that I have encountered. They're basically non-game breaking, but I was reporting many of the bugs that I've encountered to the developers, and as long as we can provide good feedback, the devs are really listening to us and trying to iron out all of the bugs, and they realize, I mean, after all, Force Science has changed the layout for the KSP. I mean, and the lookout and how it looks prospects. It has given us hope that there is a game behind what was initially shown. And that's a wonderful feeling, and I'm pretty sure that the devs are equally stoked about it. So, speaking of that, I was fiddling to get a nice encounter with JOOL, and that will be happening at the ascending node. So let us enjoy and marvel at this beautiful picture as we are leaving Kerbin. Look at that. Isn't it glorious? Bye bye moon. Oh, it just swung by. I didn't see where the Minmus is, however I decided to accelerate this because things need to be popping and we are coming up to our burn timer. So now remember, we are at the ascending node and we need to make sure that we reduce our periapsis from 990,000 meters to 18,000 kilometers or meters, I'm not sure, I think it's kilometers. Anyway, yeah. There we go, yeah, kilometers. So we are burning until we get a nice encounter, and I was initially planning to get a lathe encounter, however, I'm not sure if I'm gonna stick with that one. I need this, because this encounter will actually throw us more out of the orbit, and I need an encounter that will be a gravity assist that will actually get us captured in the JOOL system. Because JOOL is mini system, same as Kerbal, so we want to get captured, and we can do that using gravity assists and some smart, you know, shenanigans. So I'm gonna try if I can do that. I don't think I will gonna go with the lathe periapsis. So I just wanted to get a decent encounter, and now I'm capturing some science. And all the science has been sent, but I do want to capture the samples. So that's why I'm repeating all of the experiments. Now let's see. We have a JOOL periapsis here. I think if I want to get captured, I want to be going with a Tylo periapsis or lathe periapsis. This also works, see? The idea is that we get captured, so I need to find an encounter that will ensure that. Right, with that encounter stored, let us enjoy the beautiful part of arrival. By the way, devs, I think that this highlighted engine part is a bug. I mean, if you're seeing this, please do correct it. I did close up the engine is still highlighting for whatever reason. Anyway, coming in, and we will be doing the encounter. There we go. So we're just passing the gravity assist, and I'm gonna be performing this. Look at this, we're gonna be passing a lathe. And while we're passing a lathe, I want to make sure that I capture the lathe science. So, come on. Ah, there we go. We are in the sphere of influence of lathe, which means experiments, and I'm going to be transmitting them immediately. Yeah, we have 100 of data and 300 of samples worth. Good. Good to know. Beautiful. Alright. So, having said that, we did exit the lathe sphere of influence, and we're gonna be performing another burn. So this time we're gonna do a capture around Tylo, because we want to visit the moon of Tylo, and the burn is tiny. As you can see, I'm actually executing this minuscule burns just to ensure that I get as many and visit as many planetary bodies as I can, and while doing so also reducing my periapsis around JOOL so that I don't need to spend that much delta V. I mean, JOOL system is an ideal place where you can learn to do gravity assists, guys. If you really need to learn how to do gravity assists, I'm one of them. I'm actually pretty sucky when it comes to doing gravity assists. That's my kryptonite. However, if you manage to do them well, you can actually do a lot more with a lot less delta V. I know that there was a content creator for the KSP1 called Seat of Pants, and he was an expert of doing metric crap ton of, you know, delta V with very little fuel. And I did see other content creators like Matt Lown. Really kudos to him. He is really persistent when it comes to these gravity assists. I'm not that good, so I have to over-engineer my craft to oblivion. But anyway, yeah, here we go. And research submitted. We are getting into the sphere of influence of Tylo, so we wanted to send up some of those experiments. So yeah. And then we will be performing the JOOL periapsis, and on the JOOL periapsis we are slightly lowering it down. I want to also reduce my JOOL apoapsis, and this time it is going to be a powered one, because I want the next time when we're going to go into the atmosphere, but I will try to actually keep even my big engine. If I manage to do that, I'm going to have a lot more delta V. So we're gonna be able to, you know, have a better chance of reaching Kerbin again. Yeah. Anyway, this burn is gonna be 1041, and it's gonna happen partially on the big stage, 3.75, and partially on the 2.5 meter stage. There we go. Are we ready? And let's kick it. Oh look, and we have a beautiful lathe rise. Oh, this couldn't be better. I mean, seriously, look at this. This is gorgeous. No, I'm loving it. Anyway, we are now doing the burn, and let us reduce the JOOL apoapsis a little bit further, and then we're going to be creating the maneuver plan to lower the JOOL periapsis to the point we're going to be doing the atmospheric survey. I'm shooting for 170,000 meters, because at 170, at this velocity, we won't be going too far, that we will be igniting our engine, and we can fold even the antenna and the solar panels. The question is, will we be able to deploy them later? I'd like to think so, but we're gonna find out. Okay, this is it, guys. Moment of truth. We are descending into the JOOL's atmosphere, and this time we are not going too fast, so I don't expect that a lot of things would break. And if they do, we have a heat shield still. So technically we should still have enough delta V to return us home. So let's give this a try. At around 200 kilometers altitude, I'm gonna fold this probe, and then we should be performing the science experiments the moment that we pass the 200 kilometer mark. And there we go, right on the cue. Look at this. And now we have 1,570 of samples all of a sudden. Isn't this beautiful? Isn't it glorious? And we're going to be running the atmosphere survey, because that needs to run for almost 1.5 minutes, so it's taking quite a long. And look at this. Now look at the samples. 6,610 and 3,060 data. That's almost 9,000 science, guys. That's a lot. Ooh, this gives me the chills. Did we manage to expand the antenna? Yes, we did. And also the solar panels. Here we go. Awesome. Our probe lives. We will be able to return it. By the way, guys, if you like this video and you think I deserve it, please hit that like. And also, if you're not subscribed and you would like to get notified when I post more KSP2 content, do hit that subscribe button as well. You would be helping me out a great deal. By the way, a huge thank you to my channel members and patrons. I have currently only, I think, 2 patrons, so big thank you. But I had them for a very, very long time. I have very, very dedicated all those small following, and I'm very grateful for it. You guys is what keep me going and what keeps me motivated to do these crazy missions. Also, I didn't promise that towards my to my community that I will be doing the Stationeer series. That's being cooked, but I'm just swamped with too many good stuff, so I will be getting to the moon in Stationeers soon enough. Expect it in a week or two that the first episode should come out, by the way. On a completely unrelated note. Now, speaking of which, we have gathered the science, we have sent the science. Now it's time to go back to Kerbin. I did a lot of fiddling and it took me a good portion, but for the 2.6 thousand meters per second delta V, I believe I have a possible Kerbin encounter. Well, not technically an encounter, but let's say we are gonna go get there. It's 2.8 thousand and we have total 4.3 thousand, so it's gonna be a very hefty burn. The burn will be lasting 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and I'm using also trying to send as much atmospheric data because that will help us to complete the mission and net us another 3,000 science. So there we go. I think the mission is complete. So technically I could basically revert to the VAB now, but then I would be losing out on those sweet 6,000 of science. So rather than doing that, I'm gonna try and return this probe. This is gonna be a nail biter because my budget is not that great. Should be enough, but then again, I've never done this in KSP2, so this is exciting. And I know I'm burning on the wrong side of JOOL. I've actually realized that in post-production. Well, you know, you can't have them all. So there we go. The burn is still ongoing and it's gonna take a good portion. So it's 1 minute and 40 seconds. Yeah, it's kind of hefty, but I decided to accelerate. By the way, guys, all the burns are accelerated at 4 times time as acceleration for your benefit, because I feel an episode shouldn't be 1.5 hours. It should be around 30-ish minutes, and I want to cover the entirety of the mission. I want you guys to see everything, including the building process, because previously I was just doing the launches and a lot of people were asking me, but GrunfWorks, how do you build them? So this way you have everything in, and if you want to watch it, you can always play it at half-time acceleration when you're watching the VAB, and then you will be able to see it in a pretty good pacing so you can actually build along. That's another tip that I can give you. Anyway, that being said, now we are getting out of the JOOL sphere of influence finally, and we are going towards the Kerbin. I don't have a good encounter yet. I wasn't able to secure it, but we're gonna do this traditional style. So we just make sure that we have a route that intersects the Kerbin, and when we get there, we're gonna be performing a small burn just to make sure that we get an encounter. This is the way, if you are not using Hochman transfer, how you can actually get to your planet. It's sort of like a rendezvous. I'm doing a rendezvous with Kerbin, with the Kerbal being my main. So if you haven't seen how to do it, you can check one of my, you know, orbital rendezvous and docking tutorials. This is actually pretty much the same. So yeah, that's basically another pro tip. Yeah, so that being said, now let's see. We are approaching Kerbal. We're doing another burn and we still don't have an encounter, but these now burns should be tiny. And the moment we fling this left and right, look at this, we're gonna get ourselves an encounter. And after a while I decided, I got the 1A and 1B very close, but I wasn't able to get an encounter. But I did another circle around the Kerbal, around the sun, and now I'm deciding with the tiny burns to ensure that we get the Kerbin encounter. So right click, focus, and now by manipulating, you know, the maneuver node, I'm securing a good Kerbin encounter. Periapsis, I'm gonna try and get it to, let's say, 40, 50-ish. I don't know what the good periapsis for such a return would be. I want to do an aerobrake, but I don't want it to be extra crispy so that my probe, with all that valuable experiment, just goes up and blows up. Yeah, so there we go, burning, and after this hefty burn, we should have a Kerbin periapsis of 55 kilometers to start with. Alright, let's get it quite nice and tight. I did be very tiny burns. Okay, 35 kilometers. Okay, well, that honestly is a little bit intimidating. So I think I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make it so it's around 50, I mean 38-ish. 35 was a little too little for me. Now let's see how will it hold up. Okay, we are getting into Kerbin. Guy, this is it. The moment of truth. Will our probe survive? Will we be able to survive the rigors of re-entry and manage and land a lot of science successfully back to Kerbin? Oh, this is nail biter. And I'm also playing it 2.5 times accelerated for your benefit only. There we go, we are coming close. We want to keep the retrograde. Let's fold in the solar panels, and when we get closer we're gonna be folding also the antenna. But first I want to be conducting the burn, which will decelerate us to a degree. Okay, and there we go. By the way, this is accelerated at 12 times. Because I thought this was a very, very long re-entry. And while I'm doing it, I'm also might be, I'm looking at the science blipping, but I'm always worried if I press anything, something's gonna extend and something's gonna break. So I'm actually terrified at this moment. Okay, it seems like our probe survived to a degree, and now we are going back for the second re-entry, and we pop the chutes. Chutes did ignite! Awesome! Now they need to open, and we need to perform the soft touchdown. Now we have the main chutes. Oh, look, moon in the background. Isn't this glorious? Oh boy, this is just insane, guys. If we manage to land this, we're gonna be getting so much science. More science that we would ever want to use. Oh, this is gonna be amazing. Now, what are we gonna do? Let's see. Come down, and I did accelerate. Yeah, the main chutes deployed, so we are descending at a gentle 5.5 meters per second. I think the probe will survive, which means we were gonna get a lot of science. Awesome. This is the furthest that I was able to come in the KSP2 and return. Okay, let's recover the vessel, and I want to look this time at some statistics. Just, humor me for a second. There we go. Let's see, recover the vessel. What is the fastest speed? Highest altitude 71 million meters, highest speed overall 12 kilometers per second. Highest G-force 85.2 G. Holy moly. Okay, so we have the lens test, and we're gonna submit for additional 3 science, which will bring us to a whooping, that's 10 with 3, it's almost 13,000 science that we will be able to spend. Oh my god, this is awesome. Look at that. Beautiful. Mission completed. Thanks, science. Well, there we go. That's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Press the thumbs up, and I'm gonna be seeing you in the next one.